This right here is the soleus muscle, and it is one of two muscles that form your calves. Now everybody is very familiar with the other muscle that forms your calf, the gastrocnemius. That's what this thing is right here. It has two heads. It's very characteristic. When you think of calves, you are probably thinking of gastrocnemius, but that just shows that people need to give some respect to soleus. You can see a small portion of it right here. But if you think about it, when the name triceps suri, that actually breaks down to three-headed muscle of the calves. Suri means calves. So here's one head, here's two heads, there's three heads. But they both are going to join up at the calcaneal tendon, or the Achilles tendon is what most people would call it. But our goal today is to learn about soleus, which is hiding just behind. And to do that, we are going to be using a 100% free KenHub article that we've gone ahead and left a link down the description below, so please feel free to follow along at home. Now, this is the soleus in all of its glory. Now, granted, we can also see another muscle up top. This is called the popliteus. It is another really deep muscle. This is the deepest muscle in the posterior crus, but just below it is where soleus is going to originate. Now, both of them are kind of like attaching at the same point. It's called the soleal line on the tibia. But it's also going to originate all the way over here on the medial border of the tibia. And then it's also going to originate on the head of the fibula and also another part of the fibula shaft as it's going down. Right? This has a really broad attachment. And then it's going to come down and insert with the gastrocnemius via the calcaneal tendon at, you guessed it, the calcaneus, right? Very good name for the tendon to be called the calcaneal tendon if it's going to the calcaneus. And I should say, by the way, soleus, its name means soulfish, and that means someone at some point looked at this and believed that it looked like the soulfish, which is a flat fish, which I would argue, I think that's a pretty good name for it. Now, its action is going to be very simple. It's going to be what's called plantarflexion. We're going to see that in action in just a moment, but I just want you to know plantarflexion is the only thing that it's going to do, but that doesn't mean that it's not important or that it's a simple muscle. This muscle we're going to see is active all the time. Now, to understand, I'm going to scroll back up the nerve that goes to it so we can view this image here. We can see the nerve coming down, and in inserting here, this is called the tibial nerve. The tibial nerve is one half of what's called the sciatic nerve. The sciatic nerve splits and bifurcates. You can see that here in the back of the knee, becoming the tibial nerve and the common peroneal or common fibular nerve. And what's going to happen is it's going to come down and it's going to innervate that soleus. Now, let's go ahead and scroll on up, and I want to show you this video that is embedded inside of our article. Now, this is a premium feature, but I just want to show you the power of these videos because it is really, really cool. And so I want to orient you real quick. You can see we're looking at a crus, right? So you can see the foot, you can see the tibia, the fibula, you can see the femur, the patella, and if you look closely, you're also going to see like this white transparent muscle on top. That is representing the gastrocnemius, leaving the only colored muscle we can see to be the soleus, and then you can also clearly see that calcaneal tendon or Achilles tendon. And I just want to let you know, this is a massive tendon. And when I was growing up, I used to think the Achilles tendon was just this tiny little thing right there, but in reality, it's huge. It goes up like halfway or half the distance of your entire crus. This is a big tendon. So I'm going to go ahead and press play, and we're going to just kind of watch as the video goes through. Now, this has, awesome narration going over it that I've just silenced so we can talk about this, but it's showing you the action plantarflexion. Right? Plantarflexion you can think of just as standing on the tips of your toes. But again, like if you really think about it, you're not really doing that all that often, but like you are walking, right? Like, I mean, yes, it's showing, I don't know if you're in ballet, that would make a lot of sense, but I'll kind of pause this for a second. You are not standing on the tips of your toes all that often, but since you are walking, it helps to push off during locomotion, so you can just kind of propel. But that is not the only thing that it's doing. And it is mentioning like the difference between gastrocnemius and soleus. This is another really cool thing about our videos, is it tells you like really subtle differences. And what it's kind of explaining here is that whether or not your knee is flexed, as in like right now I'm sitting in a chair, and so my knees are flexed over the edge, that actually makes a difference regarding whether or not soleus is more active or gastrocnemius is more active. So kind of interesting how that works, but the main thing that soleus is really going to be responsible for, and we're going to see this in just a moment, has to do with balance. And you see this a lot with muscles. And by the way, this is actually getting to show you some of these awesome workouts that this individual is doing. They're trying to show you the difference between, say, like a flex knee and then an extended knee while you're doing plantar flexion. Because, just to let you know, if you are using a flexed knee, you are actually going to be using more of soleus, just because gastrocnemius doesn't have the leverage to really work as much as it could if it was in the extended state. What they're trying to say here is, and this is a really powerful thing about knowing your muscles, is that the exact position the joint is in can work different muscles even if you're doing the same action at a different joint. That's all we're really trying to show here. But back to what I was saying about balance, and we're going to see this in action here. Soleus is really there to help keep you from falling flat on your face. Right? So that's what they're going to show right here. Is you're going to see like it's going to twist it around, and it's going to show that it's like just based on gravity and how the body naturally wants to lay, it's going to actually it wants to lean forward. But that's obviously not going to work. Like, you don't want to have that forward-leaning posture. It's just not going to be good, right? So this is what we would call dorsal flex. You're dorsally flexed or dorsiflexion. So that at the ankle. So soleus is in the stretched position right now. So what it is going to do is it is going to contract and bring you back into this neutral upright position. This is also plantar flexion. And this is just an important thing I really encourage you to understand when it comes to muscles. And this is more of a deeper kinesiological perspective. We're going to go ahead and exit the full screen here and kind of scan down and just look at soleus. Is simply that, yes, muscles have an action. But just because that action is described very simply, like just saying plantar flexion, that doesn't really tell you a lot about what it does in your day-to-day life typically. Remember, that is assuming anatomical position. Anatomical position being that, I can kind of stand up and show you, being this right here. I mean, you're not really in that position. I'm not in that position all that often. Instead, like once you kind of learn your muscles, I strongly encourage you to start thinking about them in terms of what they do dynamically. How do they actually work in our day-to-day? Because you're going to find that most of the muscles you learn, they really operate in different ways than you would think because you're not always in anatomical position. But that is a different conversation for a different day. The real thing you need to know, though, is that the soleus does indeed perform plantar flexion of the ankle, innervated by the tibial nerve, and it's a really, really cool muscle. So my hope is that you found this video very useful. Again, we went ahead and left a link down the description below so you can check this 100% free KenHub article out yourself. See what else we have to explore. There is a lot on the KenHub platform that I know you would absolutely love, including a brand new physiology section that we just launched. But while you're down there, please hit that like button. Small things like that go a long way in the all-powerful YouTube algorithm, just helping these videos perform better and get in front of more people. But thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next video.